Check, check, check. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2.
Sounds good.
The Umbrella Academy was just okay. The Umbrella Academy was just okay. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Can you hear me, Tom?
That sounds good, man. Let's do it.
Alrighty.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. They say you can't choose your family. Well, you also can't choose which era of music you grew up in. This is a weekly show where we discuss our favorite bands from adolescence and how they continue to shape our lives today. Each week, we'll head back to the early 2000s and take a closer look at the cards we were dealt.
I actually, to be quite honest with you, it was an all right show. I only watched the first couple episodes. I don't mean to talk too much smack about Gerard because MCR is getting back together, my good man.
Yes, sir, they are.
Yeah, if you're just joining us because you searched MCR, hopefully this reaches everyone. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. It blew up on Twitter so widely, I guess, that it became, I think people were thinking that being emo was this niche thing, but everyone who was alive in 2005 felt that way. I think that's become clear through all of this. So if you're here out of curiosity as to why there would already be a nostalgia-based podcast from stuff that didn't happen what seems like not that long ago, because it seems like a lot of the nostalgia podcasts revolve around the 80s, movies from 1999, music from the 90s, things like that. You're here. We're that. We are that show. So I'm Pat. As you heard in the intro, Tom's with me. We have already done an MCR podcast based off of the music video for I'm Not Okay.
A fan favorite.
In parentheses, I promise. That was very fun. But yeah, this is not exactly an emergency pod because it's a couple days later. We've had a few days to sit on the news. Any knee-jerk reactions, Tom? When you, did you see this coming? Was this a surprise to you personally? How do you feel? Are you okay?
Yeah, man, I'm here for it. I think it's pretty safe to say neither of us are like My Chemical Romance stans. I think the Twitterverse would call us fucking casuals if they were to call us or accuse us of anything. But we've both, pretty heavily enjoyed this band through high school, and currently, like you said, we did an episode where we cast the music video of I'm Not Okay, I Promise. And I'm excited. I didn't get tickets for the show. I think I found out about the show pretty well after it was already sold out, because it sold out in minutes, right? It was crazy.
Yeah, it went quick. I just found out recently that my wife's sister got tickets. So that I told her she could have my retirement savings, which aren't a ton, but would be more than what she paid for the tickets, I guess, or at least I hope. I'm not sure what they were going for, but yeah, they went fast. And I was, I'm happy, but also scared because, I'm happy for the show because obviously this is going to be a copycat situation, right? If you thought movie reboots were a problem, I doubt that this is going to be the only 2005 band that comes back to get the sweet, sweet pop-up show dollars. If there was any hiatus whatsoever. Bands like Blink and Weezer have just kind of plowed through with their head down and just continued to put stuff out. Sure. But if there was any band waiting to come back, this is kind of the blueprint, it seems like, right? We're about to, we're coming up on the year 2000, or we're coming up on the year 2020, I should say. So there's we're entering the decade where we're going to have a lot of 20-year, album, I guess, anniversaries. And we're going to be here to chronicle all that. But that means that Gen Y is going to have a bunch of nostalgia shoved down their throats. I don't know. Are you scared? Are you happy? This could be, the start of an avalanche, I feel like.
Yeah, I think a couple people were saying this was the Smashing Pumpkins model of going away for this amount of time and then coming back and selling out. And not selling out, but selling out a show. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm totally okay with it. I don't think off the top of my head I can name too many bands I love that are not active at the moment, I guess. If I thought about it for more than just this 5 seconds, I could come up with a few, but...
Well, I guess I should take a step back. The Hell Omega Tour, I don't know if the Hell Omega Tour, which I guess for those who aren't aware, Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy are going to do a big stadium tour next summer, right?
Yes.
So they're going to try to, I guess in interviews are saying they're trying to mimic some of the big metal tours from the early 90s and late 80s that maybe they kind of grew up on back when tour t-shirts were big and everything like that. They made a weirdly, I guess, would you say sexualized unicorn centaur type being to be on the poster. So it's a big effort. It's a big nostalgia swing. Weezer seems to be kind of just along for the ride on that one. I guess maybe Fall Out Boy's the odd man out in that trio. I guess that's a discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
But here we are. MCR is going to do a pop-up show and a tour as well. I guess what's the latest news as we record here a couple days before this podcast drops?
The way people are talking about it, it almost feels like they're back together on tour full time, but I think they only have the one show in LA at the moment. I haven't checked in a couple days, so that may have changed. Again, f***ing casual over here. My apologies. But
yeah, you wanted to kind of formally apologize to everybody before we even got into, and it should be stated that today we're going to try to guess the set list, what we want the set list to be, what we hope it is, what they should open with and close with. That's kind of what the discussion is going to revolve around. But yeah, Tom, you wanted to kind of like ask for forgiveness before we even start, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Okay, My Chemical Romance is one of those bands that people do like fucking stan. Like, there's a level of fandom beyond what most bands in this genre typically see. And I have kind of pondered like why that is. I do know it was about like a year ago. I remember making some Facebook post, like, again, formally apologizing to the band. Like, I wish I appreciated this band for what it was while they were together, because again, few bands in the genre seem like they are performance art projects or something. And I think My Chemical Romance does that in a way that bands from like the 80s did, like Kiss or Slipknot or whatever. Like, they had an image. It was performance art. There was this whole like mythological persona of the band, and they wore the matching, like, the kind of decrepit marching band uniforms, and they seemed to pull it off effortlessly in a way that most bands could not. And I really appreciate them for that. I don't think I appreciated them soon enough, but I'm wondering if there's an element of that allows fans to like appreciate them on a bigger level because they offered more. I don't know.
Right. Well, to catch people up, if you're just joining us because you searched wanting to learn as much as you possibly could about the potential set list, which again, we don't have any inside leads or anything. We're just talking because we enjoy the band's music and are pumped. And that's what the show is, I guess. Like, this falls right directly in the middle of what we hope to discuss. So, it was kind of a great thing that this happened. But to catch everybody up, we've done a Stacy's Mom episode, the Fountains of Wayne, Adam Schlesinger episodes, Paramore episodes, Avril Lavigne episodes, Hawthorne Heights, I should say. And I think what we've learned is that there was an overcorrection to 80s glam in the 90s with grunge. There was an overcorrection to grunge, the working man look, that went back to the glam with, we talk about the 2004 or 2005 Grammy Awards, I forget which, but Billy Joe Armstrong, and Brandon Flowers of The Killers were both in music videos that year that involved eye makeup, and obviously My Chemical Romance continues that trend. The Strokes brought the skinny pants back. We're looking like kind of an overcorrection back from the working man grunge look. I think we've also learned that kind of the DIY hardcore scene from the 80s kind of came back. I think there was a lot of smaller bands maybe that, it was kind of a hardcore goth element to what ended up popping for like the 5 to 10 year period that we're trying to cover here, 5 to 7 years maybe. I think, does MCR, are they I guess we said this about the Hawthorne Heights episode, but they're one of these prototypical acts that kind of fall right in the middle of what we were trying to learn more about and add context to, right? Because I think people were painting with a broad brush that kind of the 2000s sucked as a music decade, and that's kind of why we started the show, like, to ask, did it, right?
Yeah, I think from memory, people kind of coined MCR as emo, which I don't think was like necessarily justified. I think it's different than just cut my wrists and black my eyes, but they definitely had a brand of their like thematic, like lyrical elements, and obviously the image and whatnot They stood out. You could say that. They definitely stood out. And I think they did borrow some elements from the more glam 80s, whatever. I mean, all the way, it changed over time. It kind of evolved. Like, you think of the Helene music video, he had kind of like the red and black eyeshadow on, like the long hair that was like in the face. Like, that's what people think of when they think of emo. But I think to call My Chemical Romance emo is kind of blasphemous.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you casual fan, you coming in with the hot takes. Are they, so we're going to get into this a little bit, or I guess now, right? Now that we've taken a few minutes here to explain, welcome to the show. This is what this is. So subscribe and rate and review. But are they a 2-album band? Is that blasphemous? Because we are mostly familiar with, probably as anyone would have guessed at this point, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge and Welcome to the Black Parade. Are they more than a 2-album band if we're being truly honest? I think the MCR stands would probably, I use stands casually in a sentence like I'm cool enough to pull it off, which I'm not. But, you know, are they not that? I mean, like, would you hope if you went to that concert that they would play mostly songs from those 2 records, right?
I think that to the casual listener, people may have thought My Chemical Romance broke up after Welcome to the Black Parade. I think people would think that in the same way that we said on the air, it's been a long time since Avril Lavigne put out a record, and then we Googled it and realized she's been putting out gold records consistently for the past 10 years.
Right. It's not just classic rock radio dudes that continue to pump stuff out and get Grammy rock noms, right? Like, it's just what artists do. There's no, like, generational divide. Of course, Avril Lavigne's been active, and of course her sound has changed and this and that. But I'm glad that MCR has a hiatus. It makes kind of the I don't know, the Instagram teasing about coming back. I guess what model did you say it was?
Someone said it was like Smashing Pumpkins. Like,
gotcha. Okay.
People predicted their return around this time because of some model people claimed they were following. I mean, they also had this interesting thing. It might have been like 2 or 3 years ago, I guess, when their YouTube banner changed or something, and people thought they were getting back together, but they were just announcing, like, there was this compilation cover album of other bands covering their songs that came out. I don't know if I remember that correctly, but, like, people have been active even in their hiatus, which I think, again, shows to, like, there are hardcore fans out there.
You know who else was active?
Who?
Joe Jonas. He called this, and Twitter sent out a huge apology to him because I guess he heard them practicing one day or something and tweeted about it, and everyone was like, boo, Joe Jonas, what do you know? And he knew everything. He knew all. I guess Mark Hoppus has been taking a few victory laps on Twitter as well, saying he called this or whatever.
Oh.
But, yeah, so let's pretend we bought tickets. We're going to LA.
Sure.
We're going to LA. And we're there. We're there, man. And what do you want to hear first? Let's start there. What should My Chemical Romance open with in their pop-up new great show after the hiatus in the year of our Lord 2020? I guess it's next year, not this year, right?
Yes. Which, I did remember they just announced a show in Sydney, which Stand Atlantic is also playing, which is cool. So it's more than just one show.
Cool.
I'm
glad.
Walk that statement back.
Do you hope there's a new album or no?
I don't know how, but I didn't even think about that. You
want to save that for later?
Ooh, I bet there will be a new album.
Yeah, I'm here for it. We'll do an episode if it comes.
Okay.
But let's work with what we got. What do you want to see? Because I know what my take is, but we're hoping to form what we can agree on some things, and I'm very malleable. I do think I have an idea of what I would like the show to look like, but I want to hear you go first.
All right. So the point of this is, rather than a draft, we are trying to come to a conclusion together, agree on a set list. We are cutting it to 10, which I imagine they're probably going to play upwards of 15 or 16 songs. We're going to cut it at 10 and try to agree on at least the big portions. So, like, obviously a lot, you'd think that a lot of thought goes into the set list, the order. What do you open with? You have to open and close on a huge note. So what are the two biggest songs you think of when you think of My Chemical Romance? You always have the, let's, hey, everyone, let's get, quiet down. Let's bring it down a bit. And then oftentimes they explode out of that. So those are like the big parts we're trying to hit. But ultimately...
what are the two? You just mentioned two songs. What are their main two if we're going off that model?
Helena and I'm Not Okay.
I would disagree hard. I think it's Welcome to the Black Parade and I'm Not Okay, and you got to navigate those waters easily because of how long and epic. What's tough, I don't want to get ahead of myself too fast, but what's tough is Famous Last Words and Welcome to the Black Parade off of Welcome to the Black Parade, obviously.
Yeah.
They're both really long, epic songs, and it's good to have those in your tool belt when you're working through a live show. But it can be hard to just be like, you can't just play them back to back. Like, we're going to chew up 20 minutes, freaking, jamming, right? Like, we're not going to like just let that rip. So I guess I'll go first. I think they should open with Welcome to the Black Parade.
Whoa!
I think there's a sing along element to it. Maybe he's just singing with a guitar. Maybe just like the way the track kind of comes in, and then of course rock everybody's faces off. I think there's a good argument for putting a throwaway song at number 2 while people are still having their phones out and stuff. And I think you got to hit them with another hit at number 3. Because I do think I've seen bands where they play something quick and innocuous, maybe off one of their earlier albums at number 2. Or, even one of the recent ones, just burn one. And then number 3 is a good one. But I wrote it down. It sounds like you disagree a touch.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out who is buying tickets to this LA show.
Fans. People our age.
No, I mean,
who
like,
else?
Is the casual fan, or is like the people who have been tweeting at Gerard Way every day for the past 5 years?
What's tough is like, so there's an argument in sports where playoff and championship tickets are often too expensive for the fan that would be loudest and most loyal. Usually it's like, to borrow a phrase from The Kroll Show, which is an underrated sketch comedy program that is no longer on the air, unfortunately. But now we have Big Mouth. That's a different discussion for another day. Is it detrimental to the sound in the stadium during a championship game if the fan that would be the loudest and the most loyal and the most give you the best noise and home field advantage not being able to afford going? Was this too exclusive to, I guess, get the best reaction or have the best fans there? Or is it just people living in the area that had the most money that were able to snatch it up? The tickets went quick, so I guess people weren't messing around, which gives me hope, but I guess I am a little worried. But if they're going on a bigger tour after this, maybe that would be good. I'm not sure. But I am scared, but I'm not that scared. I don't know. What do you think? Because
my thought is, if they are playing like this reunion thing, they're probably thinking they're going to capture most of the people who think they are a 2-album band, who don't know their past 3 records, which I guess would be us.
I would argue that that's 80% of the fan base, though.
Probably.
But also, if we're just speaking legacy-wise, are they not... Okay, so we are like you. If you're listening to this, if you're going to the show, if you care about the show, if you cared about the memes that were, spawned from the announcement, you're like us. You listen to the same 5 to 10 records you listened to in junior high. One of those was 3 Cheers of Sweet Revenge. Does it make you a worse person to admit that there were a few hits off Welcome to the Black Parade that but you didn't listen to it front to back? I mean, like, if we're just being honest with ourselves, other than like the hardcore fans, is their legacy mostly 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge and then a very good second album, or third album, I should say, that was, the costumes and the music videos were very, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but do you have to be made fun of if you hadn't listened to the album that came out before 3 Cheers? Or are we just in our own little bubble disrespecting the whole process?
Well, it's funny because I perceive Welcome to the Black Parade as the bigger, like, front to back album. It definitely was for me. I mean, I listened to that album in its entirety many times throughout high school. I heard it on the radio every day. I forget our ceramics teacher's name, but our advanced ceramics class, he let us listen to the radio. Welcome to the Black Parade came on every single day. And I remember that because that's when I was Hannah, my first love, Hannah, was in that class. And I remember the grouping of My Chemical Romance, this girl that I liked, and a Super Mario project I was working on all happening at once. But like every day, Welcome to the Black Parade came on. I feel like if you are a casual fan of My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade is the song you know the most. And I think it would be foolish to start with that, because where do you go from there?
Okay, here's my pitch. Here's my pitch. And we'll talk about encores later, but under my version of things, I'm Not Okay gets saved for the encore, right? But it's a discussion about whether or not you feel Welcome to the Black Parade is their like number one. I think I'm Not Okay is easily the number one and possibly the only tier A song they have. I think there's many tier B and tier C songs. But it begs the question whether or not you torture the audience by not. It's tough because you want there to be fodder left over for an encore that's worth it, and whether we'll get in later possibly to whether or not encores are even. It's like the wave when you're a fan at a sporting event. Is it something that should just die? Like just because it was a thing for 30 years doesn't mean like not all things that last long are good or whatever. But that's not a saying, and it doesn't really make sense. But so here's what I think should happen: Welcome to the Black Parade to the end. Get a good 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge track that people would recognize out of the way. It's a rocker. It's good. Take a break, introduce the band, whatever. Come in with Teenagers, a recognizable one for the casual fans, perhaps. That's what I think the first 3 should look like. But you had some Helena takes that I hadn't considered before, and I was kind of excited about when you said them when we did like a little chat on the phone before we started recording.
Well, I just think like, all right, we've been in bands before. We have had to compile a set list, and you think of like the dynamics throughout the set. There is a good dynamic from Welcome to the Black Parade, starting out with just the piano. But I feel like...
the lights go down, you hear the piano, everyone's like, yeah! They start singing along with them, and then the lights come up and like, I don't know, I just think it would be... the only 2 spaces are opening up the encore with it or opening up the entire show. I think it's too epic to be...
Dude, I think it's absolutely a closer but not the whole show. You don't close the whole show with it. I think Welcome to the Black Parade is the last song you play before the encore, and then the encore has to start big and end big. But I think the reason I think Helena is the perfect opener, because you have just that little bit of guitar, digga, 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 and it like you can ride that out forever, right? It's the kind of thing where the lights go down, the house music goes down, and you just hear digga, 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 and like you don't know where the band is, right? No one's on stage, and it could be the kind of thing where like one by one they slowly walk
for
on.
The live performance. You elongate the guitar riff or something before he even comes in.
Yeah, like I could see the guitar riff going off stage, and in the recording it starts with then Gerard comes in singing Long Ago, whatever. But I could see...
Does he say bubblegum? I've never looked at the lyrics. Bubblegum, like the hearse you died to get in a girl.
You fucking casual.
Yeah. Is it casual to listen to it 100 times and not bother to look it up? I guess. I don't know how many times I've heard it, but...
So I see a world where lights go down, house music fades out, guitar comes in, digga, 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 and then you're like, oh, where are they? And then you see a shadowy figure walking on stage, and you're like, oh my God, is that Gerard? No, it's the drummer. He walks up to the set, really explosive anthemic rock, and you're like, whoa, I know they're playing the guitar riff to Helena, but what's this drum part? And then one by one, the members come on stage, and they build this really big kind of anthemic thing that's all centered
maybe
around.
Cut it all out and go back to only the riff, and then
it all cuts out, and then Gerard, Long Ago, and then the crowd loses their mind, because you can build so much tension on like, I recognize this one single note, but like, what is happening? And that's like the way you can bring members on one by one, and then Gerard comes on and the song starts and the crowd loses their minds. Like, that's how I want this show to start.
My counter argument is you hear the piano note, no one's around, similar setup. I'm going to borrow some ear tricks. But then he comes walking out, and everyone's like, and yeah, they are. Start yelling. The sing along with him in the audience to When I Was a Young Boy, I think could be a special moment that, because of how raw the room would have been before he stepped out, I don't know if it would be wasted to close the show with. Not the show, but like the original set, assuming there's a 2 or 3 song encore. What sucks about an encore, like you said, it has to open and finish big, but there's not that many... again, I don't want to be a casual fan that just is disrespecting the whole process, but honestly, how deep does the catalog go in terms of if you have to use two of their really good songs in an encore? How are you filling the original set? Because we have to be careful with the assets here. But I like Helena. I think I'm going to vote for your thing. Let's start with Helena, but I need you to sell me on what comes next.
Okay. I kind of agree with you that number 2 has the potential to allow kind of a throwaway because hype is so big after 1. I have This Is How I Disappear as number 2. It's a good song. It's not one of their tier A, but I think it allows for a little bit of like time to settle down. It's a familiar song. It's good enough. And then Teenagers is number 3. So I agree with you on that point.
Yeah, we both have Teenagers at 3. Okay, we're in. The show is happening, right? It's almost like when you're at a live show of this magnitude where a band you love so much, and if you listen to the show, you know that I've seen Weezer like 8 times, and I'm often upset with how they disperse their resources. I really thought after the Everything Will Be All Right tour, they should have opened with track 1 on the record that had just come out. What's weird about this one, not weird, but there is no record to promote, so you don't have to we don't have music to comb through to see how that would be peppered in. We only have what's already been out there for years, so that's kind of an interesting take on the whole thing. Because sometimes bands struggle with the fact that there's new music to pepper in, right? Are you one of those bands that only plays the new stuff or stays too true to some of the old stuff? But yeah, Teenagers is one of those radio hits where you're like, yeah, okay, we know this. It's fun. You get the guitarist who's very talented, obviously, and the hair, let him get after it a little bit. Is it a sing-along? Yeah, I guess it's one of their more sing-along songs. I guess you wouldn't be singing to the end with him like, oh, this is so fun. Teenagers is definitely more of a radio hit that people would recognize.
Yeah.
So we're saving a lot of... We haven't really spent too many huge bullets here. Like, there's a lot left in the chamber.
Well,
that was a poor metaphor, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Can I try to convince you that To the End on your list is too soon? I do have it on mine. I have it as number 5. Are you sold on that being number 2?
I don't really care what happens in song number 2 through the second to last of the original set at all. Like, to me, the first 3, the last song of this set, and then the whatever is in the encore is really what we have to nail down. Because whatever comes in the middle is kind of fan service. Maybe there's a slowdown song. I mean, but I think we need to nail down the big ones, so we know what we're looking at. I had To the End as the second one because it's a pretty recognizable 3 Cheers song. So for me, it was Welcome to the Black Parade, that, Teenagers. It's a good start, but you're saving Famous Last Words and I'm Not Okay for the encore. And I was going to finish the set with Helena because Helena, So Long and Good Night, the lyric would kind of put a bow on the whole package, right?
Oh, wait. Your encore is Famous Last Words and I'm Not Okay?
Yes.
Mine too.
Okay, so you agree that I'm Not Okay. See, I was a little worried because to me, that's their heaviest hitting... To me, that's the heaviest hitting track.
I don't agree with you on that.
Okay.
But okay. Okay, so I'll just run through my list. Helena, This Is How I Disappear, Teenagers. 4 and 5 don't super matter. I have Thank You for the Venom, To the End, right? 6 is where I thought that it should slow down. It should take a minute. Hey, everyone, let's get quiet. Pull out the phones, whatever. Let's all sing along. I Don't Love You. I don't think that, I don't think that they ever fully commit to the ballad, but I think I Don't Love You is probably the closest we get to just like, let me just hear the voices in the room kind of deal. And then...
Yeah, Welcome to the Black Parade and Famous Last Words are about as ballady as they, like, in terms of, I guess, really going for it.
Well, not ballad.
No, I know. Like, they're not really known to be a ballad band.
Yeah.
It's smart. Like, yeah, when and how would they slow it down, or should they slow it down? It's because you got to give the fans a break too. You can't just. Well, it depends what kind of show you're expecting, right? Would you expect how much sweat? Like, how many layers of clothing are you expecting to sweat through? You know what I mean?
I went to a hardcore show over the weekend, and they were at a 10 the whole time.
Well, there you go.
Every single band.
Is that what you would expect from MCR or no?
No.
Okay.
I have seen them before. They opened for Blink-182. I don't remember their set, what they opened with or anything. All I know is that like I got pit tickets. I was like right on the barricade, and it's an outdoor venue, so they have a huge speaker system, far right, far left, and you could not hear Gerard at all. I mean, you couldn't even make out what he was saying, and it was so bad that everyone in the pit was screaming like turn up your mic, and like looking back at the sound guy, like screaming at the sound guy like turn up the mic. And the thing that it was kind of annoying, but also I appreciated, is that like, you know, we were 10 feet from Gerard Way. You could hear the crowd screaming, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you." But he never for a second got out of character, didn't even address that the crowd was like talking to him. It was just like, we are here. We are in our marching band uniforms. We have this disturbed look on our face. And even though we know the crowd can't hear us, we're not taking off this mask of like, we're here to perform. It was kind of weird, but I appreciated the fact that like nothing got him to like break out of this character or whatever. I kind of forget what the point of any of that was, but I think that was just to say that I don't remember anything that they played. But I think coming out of the slow song, I think, again, for the sake of dynamics, you have to explode out of the slow song. And I think Dead is a perfect, super bombastic beginning. You start off with a guitar solo, basically. And I would love to hear I Don't Love You into Dead, into Welcome to the Black Parade, which would close down the set before the encore.
Okay.
Because like I think Welcome to the Black Parade, it's
See, the thing is, I like opening with Helena, but I don't know if Helena, there's got to be something in those first three tracks that, yeah, I mean, do we give them something more at number 2? Or is Teenagers enough? Or I guess if you haven't played a bunch of the songs they want to hear, I guess you're keeping their attention. People, I guess if you're at the show, you know and want Helena, so that's a good enough track 1, right? And obviously there's an epic way to set that all up. I'm just looking at the first 4 to 5 songs on 3 Cheers, which to me are you got to include all of them up through I'm Not Okay, in my opinion. Where do you sprinkle them? You know, in the middle of a gunfight, in the center of a restaurant, all this stuff. I'm tempted to just play the first few tracks up through I'm Not Okay in a succession, and then play Teenagers to cap it off, and then just save some of the epic Black Parade tunes and I'm Not Okay for later in the show. But, I mean, that's been not tired, I don't think it's tired, but definitely a used before trick of doing the reunion show where you play a whole album in, you know, all the way through. Although with that said, I'm not sure if the second half of 3 Cheers holds up like that, but I do think the first 4 to 5 songs deserve their credit in this set list.
I almost love them just playing 1 through 5 in a row.
Yeah. It's tough because you got to mix in stuff from the first album and I guess the most recent. I get, you know, like again, we are casual fans, but then I would wonder what the majority of MCR enthusiasts would say. I'm curious. @_reminiscent FM if you disagree. We are most active on Twitter. If you want to get in on the discussion, what you think should start and finish the show. Let's go into your model. What are we closing this out with? You Welcome to the Black Parade, When I Was a Young Boy. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming out. We're going to finish with this face-melting guitar solo, very emotional sing-along thing. I don't hate that at all. Sounds like we agree on the encore, but I don't think necessarily we agree on whether or not encores should even happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think My Chemical Romance is the kind of band that's like, thanks everyone, we got one more left. You know, like I think they would just play the set without interacting too much.
But do the fans expect it at this point? Is it one of those things where, I guess it depends how epic it finishes, right? But if you get through all of it and you haven't played Famous Last Words yet, the hardcore fans are going to be upset, I would assume. And where do you waste it unless you're welcoming people back, right? Well, but then again, it's like, I'm Not Okay is so good. It's like, where do you burn that one? You know, it's tough. It's tough. I don't mind opening with Helena, though. I think we can at least agree on that.
Yeah.
I like the encore. Here's my argument for the encore in general. It's expected, sure. If you go off the stage and people aren't absolutely screaming and begging for it, I think the fans still have to want it. I've seen bands come back from not like, oh yeah, they're back because we knew it, and that was kind of an under. I think honestly, when Skiba's first tour with Blink, I caught them in Pittsburgh. It was one of those like, yeah, they're back because bands just do come back, and I think everyone's still a little confused about hearing not Tom's voice during some of these songs. Like the energy, it was an outdoor thing. But if you're in an indoor place and the sound's bouncing off the walls and everyone's sweaty and it's just like an experience more than just like you're in it, you're not just listening to it, you're a part of the energy of the whole room, right? I think there's something to be said for leaving the stage, taking a minute, getting a sip of water, letting the fans in the building hear what the room sounds like without the amps on for a minute, maybe two, just to hear like, yeah, just the yelling, just like the, you've been there. We've all been there probably. If you're listening to this, you have seen live music and everything. And then there's something to be said for coming back out and, wow, that noise is still going. You can't let it die, right? And you're like, whew, that was something, right? We just finished, Welcome to the Black Parade we just got through that. And then, yeah, you knew we weren't going to leave you here without playing I'm Not Okay, right? And then, capitalize on that energy. But I think that I would argue that there's, just because it's expected doesn't mean it's bad, but I wouldn't do it if the energy isn't there that night, which begs the question, how much do you save for the encore if you actually don't end up doing it? You know what I'm saying? And it's tough for a band like MCR where for us, casual fans, there's not that big of a... Well, there's plenty. There's almost 10 songs that we would all recognize, but you got to pick your spots, especially with songs like I'm Not Okay, because that's one of their top 3 at least, I think. You'd be upset if they didn't play it, to be sure.
I have a lot to say about encores. I think they're bullshit. I hate them. I want to tell 2 quick stories, and then I want to tell one time I was legitimately held hostage by 5 encores. The most upsetting evening of my life. But okay, so
5?
Yes, I'm not even kidding. All right, so I went to 2 shows over the weekend. I saw The Dangerous Summer on their 10-year Reach for the Sun anniversary tour, and they came on stage and they just played the entire album, all 10 songs in a row, and it was amazing. Now, they went to do their encore. They hit the last note. Thank you. Good night. They walked off stage, and the second they got off stage, their guitar tech went onto the stage to start tuning all of their guitars. And everyone knew it was coming. No one in the crowd made a ruckus. One more song. None of that. It was like silent. And then the band just walked back on the stage once the guy was done tuning their guitars. Bullshit. Such bullshit. It was so stupid. Like, I think the fact that people, like, obviously we all wanted to hear more songs. We knew they weren't just going to play the whole album and then leave. Like, we wanted more. But, like, it was so obvious and it was so assumed that no one even bothered to go through the motions of one more song, all the cheering. Like, it was just obvious. I hated it. And then the next night I saw Counterparts with, oh God, not Stick to Your Guns. Why am I blanking on it? Straight from the Path, Varials, Chamber, good bands, hardcore show, whatever. And Counterparts, they were the headliner, and they said, we got 2 more songs. We're not doing that encore bullshit. You're smarter than that. And I thought the way he said that was interesting because I guess I never thought about it from that perspective of like, we're trying to fool you, like we're done, And in the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, Tom says like, oh, what was it? Like, all right, this is our last song. Then we're going to come back and play 2 more. Like, they even mentioned like, we're going to do this thing. We know you're not stupid. Like, it's been so obvious for 20 or 30 years. I don't understand why it's still a thing. And the worst version of this that I saw, I went to see the what was it? Not National Symphony Orchestra. It was just the Symphony of the Goddess, which is a Zelda, like Legend of Zelda touring act that plays the music from the video game Zelda synced to like stuff on screen. It's really incredible. I saw them at Wolf Trap back in like 2011. And then I saw them in like 2013 at some weird indoor venue, and they played a song. The conductor walked off the stage and everyone went crazy. And then after 30 seconds, she came back. Okay, we'll play one more. And everyone was stoked, So then they finished the song. The conductor walks off the stage everyone's cheering, and then she comes back on the stage, and we're like, oh, okay, weird, but we'll take another song. We're here for it. We paid $130 to listen to this music or whatever. So they play the second encore. She walks off stage, and then people are cheering, and we're like, okay, clearly this is done. So it wasn't as rambunctious as before. And then the chair one violinist starts trying to hype the crowd up, like, you know, kind of that raise on the roof motion, like, give us more, give us more. So then the orchestra forces the crowd to cheer more so that the conductor comes back for a third encore. And they did that 5 fucking times. Like, the conductor left, the whole band was like, more, and then it was like, oh yeah, one more song. They did it 5 times.
I like the idea of a violinist playing the hype man role.
Like, it was
5's too much.
It was the most obnoxious thing. Like, when they came back for the second one, I was like, oh, sick. Like, we are literally willing them to do more work than they had planned on. But after the 5th one, I felt like the whole thing was so cheapened to the fact that, like, get the off the stage. Like, you are asking for so much from us. You should just give it to us. Like, I could see
it's kind of like when people are like, I can't hear you, Pittsburgh. It's like, okay, we're not going to yell louder, man. Just start playing. You know, like if they do it a third or fourth time.
Yeah. It was obnoxious.
Yeah, there's a way to not do it right. I don't know if My Chemical Romance goes deep enough for a second encore. I don't think anybody should do that to fans.
Yeah.
What I like about the whole Famous Last Words, I'm Not Okay encore is that it's epic and plays off the Welcome to the Black Parade energy. In the same way that, like, okay, we're back, and fans would probably really like to hear that song. You're hitting them with something epic and something very recognizable, so that when you finish the last few notes of I'm Not Okay, it's clear. Like, that's what people were probably waiting for at that point after going through an entire show, right? Like, we're leaving for good this time because that's what is there left, right? We've given you the last 3 songs we've played have been our 2 most epic, and I'm Not Okay closed out the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. So I think I don't mind because it's a reunion show of sorts, or not of sorts, it just is, right? So the encore, letting the noise sit in the room for a little bit, you know, the energy, I think it's okay to expect that and kind of use that as a tool to appreciate it, but then hit them with an epic and a very recognizable tune to let everyone know that it is over now, though, because then you're just doing a courtesy to the audience member, right? Like, not doing it 5 times. I think maybe just the violinist might have just got excited and overplayed their hand or something. Like, cool, they're loving it, man.
Well, okay, what I like about the first, like, before the encore, Welcome to the Black Parade, people might honestly think that's the biggest thing they have. Is this actually done? And then they come back for the encore, Famous Last Words, which, like, not in the music video. Like, Famous Last Words comes right after Welcome to the Black Parade. It's like a direct sequel. So I like the fact that, like, the encore starts, it picks up where the show left off. That seems like a natural progression. And again, that song is so epic. The crowd might be like, oh shit, is it actually done now? Because, like, it doesn't get much bigger than that. And then, like, I'm Not Okay is like, everyone loses their mind. Like, it's so clear, like, we are done. We just played our biggest hand, you know? I think that would be, like, the perfect closer, like, dead, Black Parade, encore, Famous Last Words, I'm Not Okay. Like, if they only played those 4 songs, I'd be hyped. I would pay money to go see that. I think that's probably the best way they could do it.
I think, and I'm definitely, you know, we were worried we weren't going to agree too much, but, you know, Dead is one of those middle of the road tracks for them where it's not their biggest, but it's not their smallest. Using it as one of those 4 kind of to finish the show out. Famous Last Words is similar to Welcome to the Black Parade in the sense that it's epic enough to be weird on how to, it's unique enough to be worried about where you're going to fit it in. Using the encore to your advantage in that sense makes sense. I think you got to go heavy first half of 3 cheers at the beginning of the show. I like opening up with Helena, mixing in teenagers to kind of show that you're going to, you know, not just play off one album all night, obviously. And anything from 2 or 3 through 10 or whatever before you get to Dead doesn't bother me too much. They can do what they want. We're here to have a good time. Whatever they feel is best is fine with me. I kind of like that setup. You know, the epic Helena, it starts off their best album in my eyes, and to start the show with that is good. And there's no new music to kind of dethrone anything, so I'm on board. You convinced me. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Helena's like one of those songs I remember, like, there was an AOL music channel on like the old CRTV's channel 300 or something. That was the first time I heard that video, and I loved it. Dead is like, all right, so there's a kid named Seth who lived around the corner from me. We went to high school together. He was in our class, and he had Guitar Hero, I think it was 2. And I remember like there was a month and a half where we hung out all the time. And I mean, I love Seth. He was a good friend of mine all 4 years of high school. But like for that month and a half, I just really wanted to play Guitar Hero because he had the console and the game. And I played Dead, I mean, over and over and over, because like it starts off with like the guitar solo. I think there's a solo in the middle of it too. Like, it is a crazy song, but like Guitar Hero wasn't a big enough brand back then that they didn't have the licensing for like the actual song. So it was like a cover of the My Chemical Romance song. I think it was a different vocalist. I think the instrumentals might have been the same. They didn't have the license to the vocals or something. So I remember thinking it was really weird, but like that song is kind of burned into my memory of like, okay, you know, I was 15. I didn't have the money to buy a Guitar Hero. You ride your bike over to hear a cover of a song by the band you wanted to hear, and you had to play through the song in order to hear it because LimeWire or like Apple Music didn't exist. I remember, I think that was also the day I learned about what a torrent was, and it blew my mind. You can download an entire discography in one file rather than trying to hunt for everyone individually. But yeah, Dead.
Was the bike
energy.
ride uphill both ways?
Yeah, yeah, in the snow, in bare feet.
Yeah, for sure. Although the snow joke doesn't really work when you're from Erie, because it's a good chance that was
9
the
months
case.
out of the year, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I love the faux ending of Welcome to the Black Parade because I think people are really honestly going to be expecting that as the actual closing. So playing it as like the closing of the first set is kind of a mind enough that people might be like, oh my God, is that it? And then the encore is actually a surprise. I think that's probably the best way they could do it. That's like,
I
that's
wouldn't be
what
upset if they opened with it, but I think Helena, yeah, I'm with it. I already agree, but I wouldn't be upset if they started with it either, just because I think the sing-along factor would get the crowd immediately right in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I wanted to, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Setlist.com. I don't even know if that's the right web address. But I think we're both in the camp of not hugely a fan. Like, you want to know what you're getting into. I do like playing the game of what are they going to open with and what do they close with. I like asking people that have been to concerts those questions. I like guessing right. Zach has been on the show before. We guessed that Blink was going to open with Dumpweed when they were touring with, it was recently before the crash, maybe. Anyway, it's kind of like one of your most notable albums' first tracks should be what you open with. So maybe Helena is the right call all along now that I talked through it. But it's just so exciting to guess right. There was a Braddock, Pennsylvania show that The Hold Steady played, and they went from Positive Jam right into Stuck Between Stations, which like, it's kind of like to be so intimate with a band's discography that you kind of like hope that they combine certain sounds and things that you've always felt should go together. But you don't want to know. Knowing kind of takes the whole mystique and the fandom out of it. Like, you want to know them so intimately that you want to feel like you're inside their heads a little bit. But Setlist sites, like, you'd hate to base off whether or not you're going to buy a ticket based on, what are they playing in this tour? It kind of, there's like a mystique, there's like a cheapness to the fandom that really does bug me. And again, these are all superficial things. Like, there are more important things in life, obviously. So it doesn't actually bug me. But in terms of being a fan of music, like, I don't know, just like, is there a situation where you could see yourself needing or using the site, or how do you feel?
I have never been one to look at a set list. There have been times where, like, if there's a band I love, but I didn't really love the last album, I do honestly, like, wish I knew if there were going to be too many songs from the latest album.
I guess the argument is, here's the argument for it. It can let you know if you're not as familiar with the band and you come into some free tickets or something, or they have a new album. You're like, okay, what tracks off this new album do I really need to get familiar with? so I'll be able to enjoy the concert more, I guess. But like we said before, this is a case where there wouldn't even be a roadmap for what they're going to play because it's a pop-up thing or a, ending the hiatus thing. But there's no new music to kind of cloud any of that anyway. But yeah, I guess ultimately anti-setlist.com, but I could see situations where it would be, perhaps helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% anti. Like, I think that the order that a band puts an album together or a set list, I mean, it's a struggle, and like a lot of effort goes into that. And I think especially for a concert, like, I mean, Taylor Swift even addressed this in the 1989 World Tour, like, movie documentary thing. She was saying, like, anyone can go online and find out my set list. So the thing that she does to surprise people is have like a different guest every night, which is like super cool, super above and beyond. Obviously, someone of her caliber can, afford that kind of thing. But I think that like coming up with the set list, there's as much artistry in that as a songwriting process itself. And to like ruin or cheapen that experience for other people feels disrespectful, I guess. But again, it's not like you just come across a set list somewhere. Like, you have to actively be seeking it out. So I guess it's that kind of thing where like, yeah, I wish it wasn't a thing, but it's not like I'm getting spoilers on Twitter or anything. You kind of have to seek it out. So it almost seems like there's not really that much harm in it. But it also does make me think like a lot of bands, like smaller acts where there's no barricade, you're right on the stage, people are asking for like the printed out set list that the band references throughout the show, and people like to leave with the set list. And I always thought that was such an interesting concept as well. Like, why is that such a holy artifact of the show or the experience? Like, people really want that set list. It's not like it's even signed by the band or anything. It's just a printed out sheet. I
think
of
the same reason it would be liner notes would be romantic. You get to see the handwriting, maybe some doodles. What were they thinking? Were there enough scribbles to indicate that it was a stressful evening or something? Like, I could see like if something were handwritten, why you'd want to at least try to associate that and maybe what the mood of the band was that night based on what happened and stuff.
Never
I guess
handwritten though.
Well, I mean, not always, but sometimes they are, and if they are, I could see it. But if it's typed out, yeah, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But some of the early 90s Weezer set lists, I could see why someone would want, if the song names weren't finalized yet, and you could see what they were calling certain things at the time, who was writing it out, where on the stage, who, under whose feet were they taped, stuff like that. I get it. But yeah, if it's typed out, why? Who cares?
Well, okay. Opening with Helena, Teenagers, we seem to agree third. And then the last four, What Really Matters, After the Slow Song, Dead, Welcome to the Black Parade, Encores, Famous Last Words, and I'm Not Okay. That's what we'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, should the encore be 3 or 4 songs? I'm just not sure the catalog lends itself to it. Come back and play a couple. I mean, I don't think they're going to leave the stage for that long. Don't let the sound die down in the room.
Right.
Leave the stage, but come back, give them a couple more, the ones they've been waiting for, maybe a little bit in a lot of ways.
What I'm more interested in is to hear what other people are either expecting or like the dream playlist would be for the openers, the closers, the encores.
Yeah.
Tweet at the show @_reminiscent_FM. That's more like, I wanted to do this show more to like hear what other people have to say.
And it was really fun last week. We did one of our mixtape drafts.
Yeah.
We did the year 2003 last week, and we got some nice Twitter interaction, which made our day, I think, collectively. Like, that was just super great to see. And of course, we're going to be doing some, Reliant K and the Academia stuff coming up based off of those interactions as well. So let us know what you want. If you're here through searching about MCR stuff and you hadn't known about the show before, half of what the show is what you guys want it to be. So if you are here for the same reasons we're here doing it, let us know what you want to hear. And that's probably something we have been waiting to talk about anyway. So it just helps us help you. And it's a nice thing. And it's fun, right? Like, you texted me, you were like, wow, dang. Like, you were taken aback, I think. Some of the Twitter mentions we've been getting to, or the conversations we've been getting to have lately, it warms my heart to know that your heart is warmed. Because you just text me every time, like, damn, dude, nice.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Adrian at Saladzar. It was awesome to like, I think this is the first time someone has tweeted at us like their list, and like that is the reason I want to do this. You know, I mean, obviously I want to talk to my best friend every week, but someone in a Twitter DM said something about like, you know, us providing a community for the nostalgic. Yeah, shout out to Brady for being into the show and liking what we're doing. It's super awesome, super fun to talk to people. Would love more of that. And also, you know, they mentioned like us providing this like a community, and it's kind of hard for us to imagine that because like we do this like so in isolation. Like it is kind of funny to like think like, oh yeah, people do listen to this. But it's cool to come across that on Twitter and online.
And I don't think it's that niche. Like everyone loved MCR. The emo thing was widespread, and it's not a secret. It's not a niche thing. It's a huge thing that happened to all of us. So it's just fun to talk about, you know, whereas maybe 3 years ago, we would have thought like, let's do this because we want to enjoy it, but it will only ever be a fun thing. But it's been a pleasure hearing from everybody. So,
yeah. Well, let's give our recommendations of the week and get out of here. Give people some new stuff to listen to.
In October, Jimmy Eat World came out with their latest album, Surviving. We were going to work in Reliant K, The Academy Is, and Jimmy Eat World by the end of the year. Maybe some fun stuff for Thanksgiving and things like that. We're still kind of finalizing the calendar, but with the Jimmy Eat World top of mind, the band top of mind, they came out with some new tunes, and it's worth checking out.
Well, give us a song.
Let's go track one, the title track for now, but I do hope to listen a little more intimately to the whole thing.
All right. Yeah, this is another album. I haven't had enough time with it. My friend AJ, who goes by Bogues, put out an album that is very good. It's called Paint All the Walls the Same. The song Rain All Day stuck out to me on the first few listens. There's like a really cool, like noisy instrumental break that cuts out all of a sudden. I think we're going to start doing the monthly interview type things, and he's going to be coming on the show. We've been friends for quite a long time. I think my freshman year of college, we met, recorded some of his old stuff, but new album came out. New EP came out, super good. It's almost like, I don't think it's a super fair comparison, but probably the closest thing I can come to. If there was like a male counterpart to Julian Baker, I think he could fit that role. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Great voice, killer guitar work. Really excited about it. And not a song recommendation, but just a recommendation in life. I am officially an old man. I bought a pair of slippers to wear around the house. And I'm always wearing slippers now. And I love it. So, Rain All Day by Bogues and slippers are my recommendations this week.
Okay. Keeping the toesies warm.
It's getting cold in Colorado. Yeah. So, all about the slippies. And, speaking of Colorado, we should have mentioned this at the top of the show. There is like a Colorado podcast award nomination thing going on. I'll put a link in the show notes, but you could nominate us if you want. That would be cool. Be cool to get some awards that maybe don't mean very much, but make us feel good. That's what life's all about. Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes, which can be found at reminiscentpodcast.com/episode/144. Yeah, tweet us your set list, and we'll be back next week with, I believe, the Reliant K episode on Is that the plan?
I think so.
All right. We said that last week too, but we had to get this in because this was some breaking news.
Barring any other dramatic wheelhouse breaking news about reunion shows and everything like that, this felt more important. If you want to, I guess, politely disagree, feel free to tweet at us. If you were really waiting on the Reliant K episode, but it'll come. It's coming.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I like the set list. I'm bummed out that neither of us are going to be going, but it sounds like there's going to be more than just the one show. So if they come anywhere near Colorado, I'll be there for sure.
There you go. Yeah, maybe I can get Jesse's sister to give us a report on the scene about what they open and close with.
That would be cool. All right, man. Well, I love you, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Love you too. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and talk to you later. Go. I was going to say go MCR like they're a sports team, but anyway, bye. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out for the entire episode. This was a lot of fun.
Let us know what your set list would be for this show, and if you were going to this show, and if you are, can we come with you? It sounds like it's going to be super awesome. Tweet at us at _reminiscentfm. Let us know what songs you want them to hear. And tell us how your day was. We love you all. We'll talk to you next week. And if you head to reminiscentpodcast.com, you might find something new on there. All right. See you next week. Love you all. Bye.